afternoon, everyone. I'm Jane Vossler, and I want to welcome you on behalf of the Community Senior Center. I'd like to give credit to Diane Reynolds, who found John and who scheduled him as today's speaker. And I'm excited to introduce John Aberth, a man who wears many hats. He's a medieval historian with a doctorate from Cambridge. His area of expertise is the plague. And maybe we'll have him back to talk about that. Today, he's retired from teaching history. He drives a school bus in the Mad River Valley and works with his wife at her equestrian business. He's also one of 21 licensed wildlife rehabilitators in Vermont. He trained in avian rehabilitation at Queech's Vermont Institute of Natural Science and works with both raptors and mammals. He's rehabbed barred owls, ravens, and falcons who now live in a geodesic dome that he built. And we're lucky to have him with us today to tell about the 2 beavers that he's now rehabilitating. Okay, John, you can rock and roll.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
My name is John Aberth. I have a facility which I call Flint Brook Wildlife Refuge in Roxbury, Vermont. And as Diane mentioned, I mainly do raptors, hawks, owls, falcons. That was my training at BINS. But I also do some mammals, and I do beavers. One of the reasons I do beavers is because of the great benefits they provide to humanity and to the earth in general. The wetlands that they create from their damming of streams create very diverse habitats, very biodiverse. These aid in trout recovery. They really improve water quality because when you create deep water, a lot of the sediment settles to the bottom. And they also act as aquifers, stabilize the water table, and so on and so on. So, that's... they bring a lot of benefits, and for that reason, beavers are called a keystone species. And another reason for that is they create habitat for other animals. We're talking waterfowl, fish, moose, deer, mink, amphibians, and so on. So, I really see them as a very important mammal in our ecosystem, and, that's a large part of the reason why I rehab them. So yeah, this is an awfully cute picture, don't you think? I mean, this was we call him Beaver Kid. I don't really name the animals that come into my facility because I think of them as always wild, that I'm going to release back into the wild. So we just know him as BK or Beaver Kid, BK for short. But this is him when he first came into me. That was on May 10th of 2020. And he was just a week old. He weighed 1.25 pounds. And, he was very little. And he came from St. Albans. The person who presented him to me said that a local farmer there had taken out the dam, the beaver dam, and that's their first refuge is the water in the pond. And then he crushed the lodge, which is their second refuge, probably killing the entire family. He was the only survivor, apparently. And it's, beavers are a very misunderstood animal, a very maligned animal, I think, too. So that's also a part of the reason why I rehab them. But anyway, I started, this was of course, in May of 2020, we all know what was happening back then, don't we? We had the coronavirus epidemic that was, had first hit in the winter and spring of that year. I stopped driving the bus. They closed all the schools. We all went into lockdown. And, this was the perfect time to rehab a beaver because, I had nothing else to do. I was stuck at home, as we all were. Beavers are one of the most challenging animals to rehab of all animal species. The rehab process is 2 years. And that is because beaver kids stay with their parents for at least 2 years before they disperse, if they disperse. Um, and so it's a 2 year process. We typically provide three main things to the animals we take into our care. We provide food, we provide shelter or protection, and we provide warmth. But beavers need a fourth thing. They need companionship. Beavers are very social animals. They form tight-knit families. They mate for life. And when you rehab a beaver, you can't just put food in the enclosure and call it good. You also have to spend some time with the animal. Otherwise, that animal will die, actually. Beavers who are neglected by rehabbers have been known to die. So they are a challenging animal, but they're also a very rewarding animal as well to rehab. I've rehabbed mink and weasels, and they don't need the same kind of companionship that beavers do. So I'm a sort of substitute parent for this kit, and they form a special bond. That doesn't mean they are, they're that the beaver is then, familiarized with humans. He's really only attaches to one particular person, and he's very suspicious of all other humans. So it's part of the process. This what I'm going to present is I have a selection of photos and video to show you. My wife kept a sort of kind of photo video diary, especially of the first 6 months of this process. That was the most intensive. I also kept my own diary, and I'm planning to write a book called Coronavirus Wild about my experience rehabbing this beaver and the female that came in a year later. But anyway, so this first series of videos you'll see is during his first 3 months, basically, when he went from one pound to basically 10 pounds. By the way, you can't sex a beaver except by X-raying them. Male and female beaver look virtually the same from the outside. You can't determine the sex like you can with a dog or a cat. You have to X-ray them. All their sexual organs are located inside the body. BK is a male because the X-ray shows the os penis. Can you all see where that is? I'll put the cursor here. This is the os penis here. This is a belly view of the os penis is here. Females lack this organ, and you have to take the X-ray from the belly up of the beaver. You can't take it from the back; it won't show up. So that's one of the interesting facts about beavers. So anyway, when he first came in, we had to quote unquote bottle feed him. We used a syringe and a cannula. This was the easiest way to administer milk replacer. The milk was Fox Valley formula, which is specially formulated for beavers, 50% fat, 50% protein. And he was fed several times a day whenever he was hungry. Beavers are very vocal animals, and he would cry like a human baby when he wanted food, and that was time to feed him. So on the upper left is my wife, who assisted me in this process, and that's me on the lower right in our bathtub, by the bathtub in our bathroom. We kept him in the bathtub during this time because there's no other way to both provide water and keep him warm. Beavers need water every day. They're an aquatic animal. They go to the bathroom only in water. So they need water to go to the bathroom. They also need water to hydrate. They drink a lot of water. So you need a steady supply of water. You need a warm place. And you really can't provide that in an outdoor enclosure during the springtime in Vermont, especially where we live about 1,500 feet above sea level. I love his milky nose in the picture on the lower left, by the way. So anyway, another part of this process was getting him, swimming in a pool. You can see the pool on the lower left and the upper left. This was an outdoor pool that we took him outside during the day and let him swim around. You notice his hind feet are webbed; they're very well adapted for swimming. Also, part of this process was getting him to use a ramp so he could get in and out of the pool on his own. And you notice on the lower right, the ramp has slats in it, and I made those so he could climb in and out. The problem is he would chew those, and eventually those are all chewed away. But another part of this process is housing. Initially, we just had a pine box that's on the upper left. This is an awfully cute picture of him scratching his chin, and he's showing off his teeth for you. The teeth look orange. On the lower left is him peeking out above his other house that we used at this time in the bathtub, and this was a sort of a plastic box, and then on the right you'll see the dog glue house. This is what we used when you put him outside after he was weaned from milk, and he transitioned to that house. So that was his lodge, basically. We also took him out walking every day to get him used to a natural environment. And he would, it was also useful to get him to dry out. You can see he looks like a drowned rat on the upper right, and then eventually he fluffs out on the lower right. So, walking around would help that in drying him out after his swim. Also, he had a beaver buddy. This was a stuffed toy that he would play with. It's interesting that they would adopt the same poses, if they're sideways on the lower left or back to back on the lower right. You can see how eventually the stuffed toy took a real beating. He would wrestle with that, and eventually it just tore apart. And we had to, put it aside. But that provided him also with some companionship during this time. And finally, as part of this process, we also took him to a stream that's just behind our house. We're very lucky in that we have a stream that's right nearby, and we took him there during the summer almost every day, so that he could get acclimatized to a natural environment. So he can chew sticks and he can push around mud and do the things that beavers will have to do to build dams and lodges. So anyway, this first video I'm going to show you is of me feeding him with the syringe, feeding him milk formula. So one of the interesting things is that he would actually self-feed himself. He would feed himself in a sense. He would like to stroke the syringe, and he would suck up that plunger all on his own. I'm not pushing that plunger up. He's sucking the milk and then pulling that plunger up with him. And so he has some powerful sucking action going on there, and he'll suck up that plunger all on his own. I'm not pushing it at all. I'm just holding the syringe for him, and he'll just suck up that milk, and he really enjoyed that. So this other one is him facing forward, facing you now, also feeding from a syringe. And you'll see him stroke. He would like to stroke that syringe, and then you see the plunger going up. It's doing that all on its own. He's pulling that plunger up by sucking up that formula. So this formula really fattened him up. He went from 1 pound to 10 pounds at the end of 3 months. So we would periodically weigh him to make sure he was gaining weight. And it's important to use the right formula because their stomachs can be quite sensitive in that regard. Here he is in our bathtub, and you'll see what pops up over the edge of this bathtub.
see him look.
Oh, I mean, come on, that's awfully cute.
Adorable.
I think so. But anyway, this is also him in the bathtub. He has his sticks, and he had his wood house. And so he would be in there, and we could fill that bathtub whenever we wanted. So you see the wood house, you see the sticks. Now, of course, you're probably wondering, did we ever take a bath during that whole time? Well, we have to move them out of there if we wanted to take a shower or a bath. So we had to share the bathtub with him. This is him in the bathroom playing with his beaver buddy.
Wow.
This is part of his playtime. And, he would love to, beavers love to wrestle things. They'll wrestle with each other if they have litter mates. And that seems to be part of, developing their strength so they can push over trees, I think. But yeah, he would love to wrestle with that buddy. And this is him grooming himself. Beavers also spend a lot of time grooming, especially when they come out of the water, and they groom themselves all over. And this is him again, grooming himself and playing with his beaver buddy at the same time. So you're getting the twofer here. His hind feet were very well suited for grooming. They have big hind feet with large claws that they can use to scratch themselves. So, that was him grooming himself and playing with beaver buddy at the same time. Now this shows him swimming in the pool, in the outdoor pool that we had outside. There are willow sticks. Their favorite sticks to eat are willow. They also love poplar as well. Those are their two favorites, willow and poplar. So fortunately, we have a neighbor who has a flower farm that has all varieties of willow. When we get willow from her on a regular basis, and he could have all the willow saplings he could want. So that's him checking out the water and swimming with his sticks. And here is him at the stream, manhandling sticks. He was making a collection of these sticks, and that obviously is perhaps in preparation for building a dam. But he would make a collection or a pile of sticks, and chew them and so forth. So being in a natural environment was very important preparation for release, because this gets him acclimatized to a natural environment, and allows him to use skills that he will need in order to build a dam and build a lodge. So he's getting used to natural surroundings. We're going to release him in the same stream, so this was very ideal that we were able to bring him down every day to the stream, so he could familiarize himself with this environment. So he's not only moving the stick, but he's also eating parts of it as well. So it serves a dual purpose there. So anyway, that was the first 3 months. Then during the summer months, July and August, he gained 5 more pounds. He went up to 15 pounds by August. We put him outside in an outdoor enclosure, which you see on the upper left. This was equipped with the dog lodge or house, and also with the pool that he could go in and out on his own using the ramp. But we also took him to the stream every day, and by this time, I didn't have to carry him. He would actually follow me down to the stream every day. And, I would stay with him, of course, during that whole time to make sure he was safe and that he stayed in the area. And then I would have to carry him back. So he was, he got his pool that he has his water every day, and he was getting quite comfortable in his house. He was developing his chewing techniques, whether of a stick or my boot. He continued to play with his beaver buddy, but he would also wrestle with other things like a towel, and then I'd have to carry him back. He would protest sometimes about that, but all good things must come to an end, so to speak. But this video is of him following me down to the stream. So their natural instinct is to go towards water. When they hear water flowing, they will go towards it. So, that's how I was able to walk him every day down to the stream. And this is him coming down the bank into the stream itself. Stopping to eat a fern on the way. They'll also eat, plants as well. So anyway, he was able to come down on his own to the stream, and in the wild, beavers actually make paths from the stream to various places where they're chewing down trees. Anyway, this series of videos shows him in the stream. Here he's chewing on some sticks. So he's getting his chewing in, and he enjoys just sitting in the water. These are very aquatic animals. They're they spend most of their time in the water in the wild. So that's an important part of their environment. Here he is investigating the bank, and in the wild, beavers will often make their homes in the bank of a stream, digging into the bank itself and making the lodge as part of the bank of the stream. So this is also part of his education to acquaint himself with the natural environment he will encounter when he's released back into the wild. So he'll try to get in as far as he can, and these, they love to crawl into these spaces where they think they will be safe and protected. Okay, and this is him, building a dam. This is some video clips of him practicing his damming technique. He'll push rocks. We did start a dam on the stream for him, and then he would add to it every day, pushing rocks. They use their snout and their forepaws. They'll push mud that way too, as well as carry sticks in their jaws, in their mouth. So this is part of his getting his damming technique, his damming skills. He also would carry sticks to the dam as well. So I would say that most of the time he would spend doing this, moving sticks like this, or moving rocks, to the dam to try to, add to the dam or help build the dam. So, this was his main occupation when he went down to the stream. Okay, and here's another video. This is of him sniffing the air, which is interesting. Beavers' main best sense is their sense of smell. They're like dogs in that respect. They can't see very well at all. They're almost blind. They only can see about a few feet in front of them. They can hear okay, their best sense is the sense of smell. This is playtime where I would play with him with a towel.
Likes to play wrestle.
So again, this was part of developing his muscles, developing it seems his strength that perhaps he'll use to push down trees after chewing through them. But they really like to play that wrestle play, and this is of me trying to persuade him to come in. He didn't want to come in there. We used the nuggets that you can see in the background to try to entice him back to the enclosure. But that was his routine every day for during the summer. Now we're entering the autumn time. He's around 6 months old, and he weighs about 20 pounds. Diane, how am I doing on time so far? Diane?
You're fine. You have it's 1:30. You're doing fine.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to check. But anyway, he's now about 20 months. He's now 6 months, so 20 pounds. So this is the autumn time. We still took him to the stream. Beavers are extremely well insulated, so even though the water is cold, he could spend hours in the stream like that. And I like this shot of the leaves, the leaves on top of him. I think that's a great autumn shot. He would carry these leaves that were floating on the water when he came up out of the water. So anyway, this video is of him. He's now able to crawl out on his own from the enclosure. Previous to this, I had to carry him. So this shows his progress. He's now able to climb out on his own and go down to the stream. I might have to help him a little bit, but he could basically go down on his own now. And he'd go right down to the stream. They're very attracted to water. That's their safe space, is water. And they really don't like to be very far from water at any one time. So this is another video of me walking him down to the stream, sort of like walking the dog. Although this animal is likes to be in water all the time. So this is where he would go to the bathroom and drink water, and they really depend on water for their everyday needs. So what you saw is that even though the stream flow was pretty strong, he was still able to swim upstream. That's pretty impressive, I think. But this is him doing some more. He continued his dam building. He's now moving larger sticks. He's stronger. He's able to, carry these sticks, carry larger sticks through the water to the dam. So the water is flowing down here. He's trying to position the stick so it'll help, dam that water flow. So, he can use his tail to propel himself quite strongly through the water. And this is of him again doing some damming. Yeah, so he was more interested in his sticks than the nuggets. We would have these rodent nuggets that we'd also feed to him, but you know he's really focused on building his dam and bringing sticks over to his dam. And this is of him also doing some more damming. Here he's, you know, trying to plug up a hole in the stone dam that we built for him. You know, putting some sticks in the gap there. So my wife took these videos and she had a waterproof camera that was actually able to capture him underwater. So this video is very, you know, very interesting for it. It shows him underwater as well as above water. Yeah, so I think it's fascinating to see him underwater as well. These are him getting really up close and personal to the camera. And you have a really good look at his tail here. So the beaver's tail has scales on it. It's very feels very dry. It almost feels like a snake skin. You know, it's very dry to the touch. You know, sometimes it gets too dry and you might need to moisturize it a little bit if they're not in the wild. But here is him again being up close and personal to the camera. I think that's cute. And here is him, you know, the water flow is very strong and yet he's able to swim upstream. Very impressive swimming ability. So beavers have very powerful hind legs and flipper feet. They can really swim quite well. This is him swimming underwater. And beavers can stay underwater for as long as 15 minutes, 15 minutes. So they can stay underwater for a long time if necessary for protection. And here is me trying to entice him back to the enclosure. Says, no, I'm not ready to go back yet, Dad. So yeah. It was, you know, it was sometimes challenging getting him to come back. He did come to Laura there and she was able to get him back. Anyway, during the winter spring of 2020, 2021, he by the end of spring, by May, he was a yearling. He attained the weight he has now, 38 pounds. So adult beavers can weigh between 30 and 60 pounds. So he may get a little bigger. But anyway, we had to keep him inside during this time because that stream was pretty shallow and it would freeze solid. So he needed access to water, and he had a water tank, as you can see. He has a bigger buddy, teddy bear. That's an awfully cute picture. Come on, that's an awfully cute picture of him on his teddy bear. And he continued to chew on sticks that we provided him through the wintertime. And he would also have his nuggets. He'd also like to chew on my pant legs, and he'd also give me love nibbles. I would, I'd let him put his teeth on my hand, but I would groom him or itch him, and then he would sort of itch me back with his teeth. And of course, not everyone is going to do that because beavers can actually probably, bite your finger right off. But he would just, very gently nibble me. And this is part of the grooming that they do. If they have litter mates, they will groom each other like that. So this video is of him chewing sticks in our indoor facility here. He's enjoying that. And this is of him grooming himself on his pad. So they like to groom themselves when they get out of the water, as I said. They will sit on their tail like that and do that. Things got really exciting on May 8th of 2021, because that's when I got a female beaver that I x-rayed and showed that she was a female. She came in so she was, about 15 pounds lighter than him. She arrived on May 8th, and she came from Marshfield. So she was also orphaned. She was also a yearling. To introduce these two beavers is quite a process. You notice these iron railings. We kept an iron railing between them. So they were separate, but they could still sniff each other. And we did that for about 2 weeks, so that they could actually get used to each other. Because at first, BK hissed and he would fake charge at her. So he was sort of suspicious of her, of this new arrival at first. And then one day I came down and I found them lying side by side like this. And I was half afraid that she was dead, that he might have bit her or something, because she was just lying there. But then a hind foot came up and started scratching her side, and I knew she was fine. They had somehow gotten the divider apart, the divider railing apart, so they could be together. So they really wanted to be together at that stage. So it was meant to be. I was really impressed that they were able to somehow find a way to get past the railing and get together like that. Beavers are like the Houdinis of the animal world. They can get out of really almost any enclosure, and you have to constantly keep one step ahead of them. So that's BK on the right, Mrs. Beaver is on the left. So, they would groom each other, so now they had each other to groom, and they would lie next to each other side by side. This is I like to call it beaverlove.com, it's like a dating service for beavers. And this is Mrs. Beaver. She sort of has bug eyes. That's sort of her interesting feature. Her eyes were very prominent. And on the right, she's lying flat out. She's just, her mouth is just lolling open because she's so relaxed. But anyway, this is of BK, and you'll see Mrs. Beaver in the background across the divider. And somehow they got past that. She was able to get past that and be with him after about 2 weeks. So I'm just going to wrap things up by bringing us up to the present. They're now in this new outdoor enclosure that I built. They were put out there on July 13th of this year. Mrs. Beaver had gained 10 pounds. She was now 33 pounds. So she had done quite well with us. And this enclosure is 10 by 20 feet, and it's half on the bank and half in the water. So 10 by 10 is on the land, 10 by 10 is in the water, and they can access the water whenever they want. There's a chain link fabric that is on the top and on the bottom, so nothing can get out or can get in. Although beavers will test this and chew on that chain link, so you have to monitor it the whole time. But anyway, I had to stitch the chain link fabric to the kennel sides, which is what the silver wire you see on the side is. And anyway, it took me many hours to make this enclosure, but they seemed to really like it, being able to access the stream whenever they wanted. It also saved me from having to change the water in the tank every day. In the wintertime, I had to change the tank every day because they would go to the bathroom in the water. So that was quite a laborious process to do that. And this just shows them swimming side by side in the water. They're playing wrestle on the right. They're eating nuggets side by side. So they're a very happy couple by this stage. Anyway, the sad thing is that I have to dismantle this enclosure because the Department of Environmental Conservation received a complaint. I don't know who made the complaint, but they received a complaint about the enclosure being in the water. They deemed it a prohibited discharge, according to Statute 1259A. An officer came out one day to our site and said, "You have to take down this enclosure." And he said I had to do it immediately, which was very hard to do. But I then talked to them, and they're allowing me to keep the beavers in there until about 1st of November, when I was going to bring them inside anyway for the winter. And I'm planning to release them in the spring of next year on that same stream, but I have to take that enclosure out, and I can't use it for any future rehab. So what we're planning to do is build a small pond to rehab the beavers in. That is fed by a spring that's on our property, and we've set up a GoFundMe page to solicit funds for this project. And I can Diane, I can give you the link for that if you want, if people are interested in making a donation to that. Our rehabbers are volunteers. We're not paid. We don't get paid at all. But we do accept donations if people wish to make a donation. So anyway, that's my presentation. I'll just end by saying that beavers are one of the most trapped animals in Vermont. I think it's sort of a sad thing, but beavers are often seen as a nuisance who will dam culverts. But these days, we do have humane, non-lethal methods of protecting these culverts. These are called beaver baffles or water flow control devices. They're invented by this man who is standing looking down at his work, Skip Lyle of Grafton, Vermont, and he's been doing this for about 30 years. And these have a very high success rate. These beaver baffles or culvert devices, they have a 97% success rate based on a survey that was conducted in Massachusetts of nearly 500 sites. Trapping as almost always fails, has an 84% failure rate. The reason for that is that new beavers inevitably move into the site within 1 to 2 years. So trapping doesn't really solve anything. The best way to exclude beavers from a site is to live with the beavers that are there, because beavers are very territorial and they will keep out other beavers. So if you can find a way to live with your beavers, they're the best way to keep out other beavers. And these culvert devices have proven very successful over a long period of time in doing that. So anyway, there's far less need for trapping these days of beavers. And I also think that, it's particularly cruel practice because, as I said, beavers can hold their breath for 15 minutes. So typically beavers are drowned in these traps underwater. So it'll take them at least 15 to 20 minutes to die. And that's pretty cruel. That's a cruel way to kill an animal. Also, you have to keep in mind, this is one reason why we get these orphan beavers. If the parents are trapped, the kids are orphaned and they're either starve or, we have to take them in for rehab. Anyway, that's my presentation. I'll be happy to take any questions if anyone has any.
John.
Yeah.
What do I'm making an assumption? What do beavers do in the winter? Do they hibernate in their lodge?
Not really. They will. They have to go into water to go to the bathroom every day. So it's about 70 degrees in the lodge. These are very well insulated. They've actually tested the temperature, and it's about 70 degrees with all the shared bodily heat of the whole family inside the lodge. It helps that there are several beavers in there. Rehabbers who try to keep the animals outside through the winter very often find the beavers that die of pneumonia, because if it's 1 or 2 beavers, they don't really have much chance because of the shared bodily heat they need. But they also need to build really insulated lodges. It's very insulated with mud and sticks and so forth. And therefore, the entry into the pond never freezes. They can go into the pond whenever they want to, because the water, there's a space in the lodge where they can get into the water, and that never freezes. So they can swim underneath the ice.
Okay. And how are the beavers? You're going to release them next spring?
That's correct. Yeah.
Where are you going to release them into?
I was going to release them onto that same stream that you saw in the videos.
Do you have any? How are you going to keep tabs on them? Do you have any idea what they might do?
Well, I mean, that's part of the release, is that you're letting go in a sense, and they will go where they want to. People do ban birds, or they put tracking devices sometimes, but I don't do that. But you just have to trust that they will take care of themselves. The release is much more successful if they're a pair of companions,
right,
than if they're being released on their own as singletons. So that makes for a more successful release that way. But there used to be a beaver pond on that stream when I was a kid, and then the beavers disappeared. So I would like to see the beavers there again. So I know the beavers, that pond, that stream, can support a beaver pond, because it did about 30, 40 years ago. So hopefully it will again.
I hope so.
Any other questions? I'd like to thank you for, having me make my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and watching the videos and the pictures. And, I also like to give a shout out to my wife, Laura Hamilton, who took all the photos and the videos. She's a horse trainer as well as a photographer, so she did all that. So I'd like to acknowledge that. But, it's been a very interesting process. And, you really, I think you get a sense from those videos of how, how well you get to know these animals. that you normally wouldn't do in the wild, and you really get a sense of their behaviors and their contribution to the ecosystem. I mean, these beavers are as intelligent as any dog. I mean, they're able to build these dams. They're great engineers. BK would actually have a separate tank. He would use one tank to go to the bathroom, one tank to swim in. So he basically was potty trained. And, he almost did anything a dog would do. He would follow me down to the stream. They're just really incredibly intelligent animals that you don't appreciate in the wild because we don't have the opportunity to observe them up close. So this is a very special opportunity.
Thank you for sharing that with us, John. It was really interesting.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for your time and your attention.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
It was wonderful, John.
Great. Mm-hmm. Well, have a great Columbus Day weekend, and if you want to follow us on Facebook, you're welcome to do that. My wife posts pictures of the beavers as they progress. So the release date is planned to be in the spring of 2022.
John, someone's raised their hand and has a question, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
You had said that you have a GoFundMe page. Can you be sure that Jane Bossler has that link?
Absolutely, yeah. I can forward you that link, Jane.
Okay. I can forward it to Diane, and she can.
I'll forward it to Diane, and she can forward it to you. Yeah. Okay. So, there's a link to it goes right to that GoFundMe page. Yeah.
Like to give
any donations are greatly appreciated.
I think you're really going to miss them once they're gone.
Well, that's true, but I also one of the reasons why I do this is also to see them go back into the wild. I mean, it's a really special, great feeling to see a bird fly free back out into the wild, and it's great to see. Oh, it'd be great to see the beavers back out into the wild too. That's where they belong. These are not pets; they're wild animals. And that's why I don't name them, as I said. I don't think of them in that sense. That's not to say I don't form a bond with them, but it's with the caveat that I'm going to be releasing them back into the wild because that's where they belong, and that's where they bring benefits to everybody, and everyone deserves to have these animals back out into the wild so everyone can enjoy them.
John, are you surprised at how well you did?
Yeah. Yeah. To be honest with you, this is my first beaver that I've rehabbed. I did have some help. I had help with a woman called Cher Dubmeyer. She's out in New York in the Finger Lakes district of New York, Western New York. And she's rehabbed beavers for like 30 years. And she sometimes does 30 beavers at a time. She has, what I understand, a huge... she has a lake and has a huge facility. So she has a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, and she helped me a lot. One of the things, for example, that happened when we first got him was that he had diarrhea. And this is pretty normal there, especially when they're transitioning from one food source to another. They'll, their tummies will get upset. And, she counseled me about how to handle that. So various questions that I would have, she was able to answer and guide me through that process. So, yeah, but it's been a very successful process. He's gone from 1 pound to 38 pounds. That speaks for itself. I mean, he's a fat, happy beaver, so their fur is very, very impressive. They have double fur. They have an outer coat and an inner coat. And that's all important in terms of being able to survive in the wild. The fact that he's able to put on weight and, able to insulate himself during the winter months because, like every other animal in Vermont, they have to survive the winter and they have to fatten up and get ready for the wintertime. So, that was very successful. I mean, Mrs. Beaver, too. She gained 10 pounds when she was with us after 3 months. That's very successful. That speaks for itself, I think. And she's been doing quite well and with us. And it's interesting when I paired them, I've sort of stepped back from that relationship. I didn't have to be with him as much. So he's getting more wild now that he has a mate and a companion, and he doesn't have to wrestle with me. He can wrestle with her now. So, that's all what's meant to be. And that's all part of the preparation for their release in the spring. So it's a lot easier if they have a litter mate that they can do that with. So that was lucky that Mrs. Beaver came to me this spring. So that was very fortunate too. I got lucky that way.
Yeah, that and the resource you had.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of it's trial and error. I mean, that enclosure, the outdoor enclosure in the stream that I showed you, those plans came from Sheriff Dobmeyer in New York. But I guess that's put in her lake. So I didn't know that was illegal to be put in the stream. So, it's part of a learning process for me too. So now I have to build a pond. So it's always a series of challenges in terms of how you rehab these guys. And they're especially challenging, as I said, because they require a special environment. They require daily access to water and also being on land. So that's unique. I mean, not everybody lives near a stream or lives near a water source that they can do that. So, it's one of the reasons why I did beavers too, is because I have access to that resource right nearby. So, it is a challenge, but I fortunately I like challenges, so try to rise to those challenges.
Well, you sure did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and be well.
You too, John.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.